Hi everyone, Ryan from ZenFlow Tech. We are excited to start sharing with you guys some data solutions for you. So what we want to talk about today is how to set up a system that we're calling the Zen Data Workflow that is going to allow you to very easily import, export, and then be able to later back up all of your data when you need to get it off of your main system so it's not clogging up your space. So a lot of times with photographers, you guys use a lot of data, right? So you end up to where your hard drive's full, you've got to offload things, but you don't want to lose that. So we're going to walk you through a really simple workflow today of setting it up in the first place, because Lightroom doesn't make really anything easy in terms of knowing where it is, um, how to find it later. But we'll set it up so it's really easy for you guys to be able to get all of that data off, make sure that you're backing it up both in a physical and a cloud location so that you're able to always recover it, even if, say, that external hard drive fails or something else like that. So there's a few assumptions here. First of all, if any of this comes off super overwhelming to you, please just reach out and contact us. This is the kind of thing we do individual coaching on. We're happy to do it for you. We can set up a system where we log in and go ahead and just back up everything for you and make sure that your systems are working well. But if you follow through this step by step, this is actually pretty easy. There's a little bit of legwork on the front end, but once it's going, it's super easy to do every month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever fits your schedule and whatever fits the way that how much data you're using, so that you're always able to back up and make sure that you have what you need where you need it. Okay, so a few assumptions. Number one, that you only edit on one system. So if you're using multiple computers, and you need to be able to edit in different locations with different computers at different times, this system doesn't work super well unless we make a couple changes. And those changes are pretty easy, but again, that's the kind of thing we advise on via consult, or maybe a future video we can talk about how to change this. Number two, it assumes that you're using Lightroom Classic here. It also works in Photoshop, but it doesn't work well with the mobile apps or things like that. So if you're in Lightroom using Lightroom Classic on a desktop or a laptop, this is the video for you. Lastly, that you are planning both to back up to a cloud location, OneDrive, Dropbox, something along those lines, and also physical backup, either an external hard drive or an external SSD. If you're not sure about the differences and the pros and cons between those, we'll talk about that in another video later. All right, so step one, the first thing we're going to do is create 3 folders, and we're going to put them in 2 different locations. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how we do this. The reason for this is I want you to know exactly where your files are, so when you go to back them up, it's super easy to get everything that you need backed up onto an external hard drive, SSD, and also then make sure that all of your exported photos, everything that you're done working on, is automatically syncing to the cloud. So what we're first going to do is go down here to our little file folder here, and we're going to open up this PC. Then we're going to go here to our local disk C:, which is going to be our primary storage location for the first 2 folders. So we're going to right click on that, or actually we can just double click on that. That's going to open up. And then in this folder here, we're going to go ahead and just right click, new, and then we're going to go to folder. We click that. And from here, we're going to name this one something really simple, Lightroom Imports. We're going to do it again. So I right click, go to new folder, and put in Lightroom Catalogs. So these, now the advantage of putting them here and not in OneDrive or in Dropbox or anything like that is that we don't need these automatically to sync to the cloud, because one, the catalogs are already being stored by the Creative Cloud for you, and we don't necessarily want all of our raw files, if we didn't cull before we imported, let's say you imported 500 raw images off of your camera. That's a ton of data. And as soon as you drop it in there, if you're using OneDrive or using Dropbox, you're going to start seeing that this is going to start syncing down here. When it's syncing, That's going to be taking processes away from your computer, as well as using up a lot of your internet bandwidth. So that can really bog things down. So when you go to then put your presets on, do other things, it's still trying to sync that to the cloud, and it's going to be taking away from the speed at which you can work. So that's why I'm putting them in here specifically. But the last one, we're going to make one called Lightroom Exports, and that is going to go directly into wherever our cloud storage is. So on this case, I'm going to open OneDrive, and I'm going to create a folder here. So I'm going to click that. So now I've got my OneDrive open here. I right click, you can right click anywhere here, hit new, hit folder, and this one's going to be named Lightroom Exports. So the advantage here is that our anything that we're done working on, the images that we intend to send to clients or that we're done with work, are going to automatically sync to the cloud, so that later we're not going to have an issue with getting those things back. And I'll show you how to end up to where they're not going to be stored on your computer. Ultimately, they're going to be stored in the cloud, and they're going to be stored in your physical backup location once you've done that. Okay, so I'll see you on step 2. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and open up Lightroom. And what we're going to do on this step is we're going to create a new catalog. So because I deleted it so I could show you on this video, this one doesn't know where its current catalog is. So I'm just going to say use default at this point. All right, so once I'm in here, I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to hit New Catalog. Now, if you're moving in an older catalog, that's something we'll probably cover in another video soon. If you guys want that, please let me know and we'll make that for you. But we're just going to create a new catalog. So I'm going to hit New Catalog, and then mine already defaults to this, but you're going to have to move it, because this is going to default to wherever you've been storing your existing catalogs, or if it's the default, it's going to be in OneDrive. So you're going to come down here to this PC. You're going to click on that. You're going to click on Local Disk C, and then you're going to go to Lightroom Catalogs. Now, once you're there, you're going to want to name it. You can name it whatever you want. If you work with multiple catalogs, maybe you do wedding photos, maybe you do family photos, and you want to keep those separate, you can always name as many catalogs here as you want, and then you'll be able to shift back and forth between them within Lightroom. But I'm just going to name this Test Catalog for our purposes here today. So I've hit create on that, and that is now a new catalog opened. And if I go down here, you're going to make sure that it's stored in the proper location. So I hit this PC, I go to Local Disk, I go to Lightroom Catalogs, double click on that, and now there is Test Catalog right there. So this is what's going to be able to store the information for, it's telling Lightroom where are the files located is really what this is. And then which ones go together. So there's my test catalog, that's made. All right, I will see you on step 3. All right, step 3, we're going to start importing photos. From now on, what we'll want to do is make sure that we're always importing to that Lightroom imports folder that we just made. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in, I'm just going to do this off a thumb drive, but you'd probably be doing this off your SD card or your camera. So I go ahead and plug that thing in there, and it automatically brings up the import dialog. If it didn't, you can just click on the import and you'll go down. For those of you who've worked in Lightroom, you're going to know how this works. This right here is where it's coming from. In this case, this is a thumb drive I just put in, so that's going to be D drive, right? And so I'm going to go down there. I'm going to click pictures. I just threw some random images on there. Select everything that you want to bring in. Now it gives you 3 options: copy, move, and add. The difference here is that copy leaves the original information on whatever you're importing from. So if you're importing from your camera or your thumb drive or from your SD card, it's going to leave a copy on there, which is probably wise until you've made sure that you've got everything off of that card that you need. If you hit move, it's going to take those files and put them over there, and it's going to delete them off the initial one. And then add is just telling it, I just want you to know where they are, but I'm going to work off of whatever media they're on. This is only wise if you're literally adding them from an SSD that's already on your computer. Otherwise, you're going to be deeply limiting the speed at which you can edit. You should not be working off of a thumb drive or off an SD card. They're just extremely slow. So let's keep going. Copy for right now. And then you're going to come over here where it says, where's it going to? And you'll see it's defaulting here because I specifically am starting with a fresh version of Lightroom for this video. And it's putting it into a OneDrive folder, right? Again, now that's not where I want to put it. So I'm just going to click this and I'm going to go down here to Other Destination. And I'm going to tell it, hey, from now on, when you import things, I want you to put it here. So I go to this PC, I'm going to go to Local Disk, and I'm going to go to Lightroom Imports. And then I hit Select Folder, okay? Make sure you hit Select Folder, otherwise it's just going to screw you up. So I've got Lightroom Imports now. For those of you that have been working with Lightroom for a long time, you're probably used to the fact that the default is to just slam it into folders based on the date that you took it. And I don't find that to be particularly useful for searching later, because now you're just trying to remember what day did I shoot that family on, or what day did I shoot that scene on, or whatever it is. And so now you're thinking, okay, so instead let's name it. So let's get into the habit of naming it here. So this is part of our workflow. I click this button here. So this bar here, it says into subfolder. So I'm going to get my own name for the subfolder that I want, rather than just having it throw it in based on a date. So I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to call it test photo shoot, right? You might name it after the couple, or after the name of the baby, or whatever it was that you were shooting for this one. And then where it says organize, you're going to want to turn off, it's going to be defaulted by date, right? And this is how you end up with all these different dates and all these different names for your files. Let's instead put it into one folder. If we change it to into one folder along with test photo shoot, now everything that's coming off the card from this import right now is going to end up in a folder that's searchable based on whatever you named it. So that looks good to me. And now from now on, it should default to these settings. So you'll just need to be naming the subfolder for each new import or each new session. If you want to do, maybe you've got 2 sessions on your card, you're getting them both, you can go ahead and select one session, save it into one, and then do this process again, select all the other ones and save it into a new name. And that way they won't just be slammed together in one date. All right, so I'm going to do that. I hit import, and now those are going to end up inside my system. Okay, I will see you on the next day. All right, so step 4, you're done working your magic. You've done your edits. You're super excited about it. And now we want to export these so that we can make sure that those are backed up. We've got the work that we absolutely are thrilled about. So here I am. I'm looking back at the library. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control A. Oops. Sorry, I kind of missed the button there a couple times. Hit Control A. That selects everything all at once. Then we can unselect any that we don't want to take with us. We're going to go ahead and export. And so once we brought up the export, all right, from here, we want to make sure that we pick specific folder, okay? That specific folder allows us to choose where it's going to go. Mine is already defaulting to what I wanted because I've done this before, but you're going to hit choose. You're going to open up, in this case, OneDrive, because we're using that as our cloud storage solution. You're going to go down and find that Lightroom exports folder that we earlier created, and you're going to hit select folder. You've done that, and then it's going to say put in subfolder. So this is key, because if you don't do this, it's just going to start throwing it into random locations. It's going to be hard to find, or it's going to name it by date or some other thing that is really totally ridiculous and doesn't make any sense. So check the box for put in subfolder, and then name it whatever you want. In this case, we've chosen test export, but you're going to name it, awesome wedding with the name of whoever it was, right? Now you've done that, you're going to come down and hit export. Easy, right? So very, very simple. And now I'm going to show you in the next steps, how do we find these and back them up so that we never lose them? See you on the next step. Okay, so now we're going to get to the actual nuts and bolts of how do we back it up so that we never lose anything. So we're going to go ahead and close Lightroom. That's important because if you leave it open when you try to do this, you're going to get all kinds of errors. So Lightroom is closed. I'm going to go ahead and open up my File Explorer. And then I'm going to middle mouse button again, so I get a second instance of it. So anytime you want to open two instances of it, middle mouse button does that. And then because I like being able to see everything all at once, I'm going to go ahead and drag that one over so it fills half my screen, and drag that one in to fill the other half of my screen. On this case now, I'm going to open up this PC. I'm going to open up my local C drive so that I can see my Lightroom catalogs and my Lightroom imports there. Then you're going to go ahead and insert your external hard drive or your SSD or your thumb drive, whatever you're offloading to. Don't use a thumb drive for a lot of data, but maybe you're just backing up a small thing to take over to a friend's house or something. I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and that just popped up as F. I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to open up F. Now, on this, I already have the backup folders made, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those, or just delete one of them so you can see how we make them again. So there's one here, Lightroom Import Backup, Lightroom Catalog Backup, and Lightroom Export Backup that I'm going to make. So you hit right click, New, go to Folder, click on that, backspace, and I'm going to name this Lightroom Export Backup. Okay, so now I've got my three folders here made. You can see these are currently empty. There's nothing in them. I'm going to go to my C drive here. This is the imported photos. Okay, so this was all of our RAWs. So if you've been working for a few months, you're going to have a whole bunch of different folders here that say different things. The way we're going to do this is everything we take off is going to get backed up, and it's not going to be on our local computer anymore. That's going to free up a ton of space. If there's something you still want to work, you have to you still want to work on from this local location, you've got to unselect it here. In this case, I'm just going to hit Control A. It only gets this one folder because there's only one folder to get, but if there was 20, it would have got 20. Again, unselect anything you still want to work on. And then I'm going to right click, I'm going to cut, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to paste it. So I went inside the folder, and I'm just going to paste that over. So you'll see it's now gone from here, and it's over here, okay? Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to do exactly the same thing into my catalog backup. In this case, I'm going to get all the catalogs. So I'm going to come in here. Maybe I had more catalogs for different purposes. But in this case, all I've got is test catalog. I'm going to right click. I'm going to cut. And I'm going to paste. Now, when you go back into Lightroom, it's not going to have that catalog. So you're going to have to make a new catalog again to start from this point going forward. If you did not want to make a new catalog and you wanted to leave all that in there, you could copy and paste it, and it's going to leave a copy here. Lightroom will load, it'll look for that, but when it goes to look for the files, it's not actually going to find them. I can show you in another video how to make that problem go away and not have all those dead links on the left side, and either have them find something or just remove those. But anyways, that's what we're doing right now, because our goal is to get everything off of this so that we're starting again with a computer with tons of storage space left for the next 2-3 months of what we're going to be working on. Okay, so that's over there now. Now I'm going to back up one more time, and now this time I'm going to come over here to OneDrive. And my OneDrive is where my Lightroom exports were. So when I come into my test export, there's those. Those are currently synced to the cloud. Remember, that was our finished work. So our finished work is now synced to the cloud, and we want to make sure that we also have a local backup of it. Let's say something happens, Google loses some data, or Microsoft loses some data. It's happened. Don't assume that it doesn't. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to get my Lightroom exports. I'm going to copy all of the exported things that I want. So Control A again selects all. And then I'm going to cut that. No, actually, I'm not going to cut that. I'm sorry. I'm going to copy that, and that's important. copy from here, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to go to Lightroom export backup, and I'm going to paste it in here. So Control V, paste. And so that's going to copy over all of my finished work. So now that's going to be on my external hard drive. Fantastic. Now, once that's done copying, I'm going to go to my external hard drive, right click, go down, and you're going to hit eject. This is important. People don't do this often, and a lot of times they're fine, but you can corrupt data if you don't take the time to eject the drive, especially when it just wrote a bunch of information. So go ahead and hit eject. Once it's ejected, that dialog will go away, and you can pull it out of your computer physically, okay? So now the question is, okay, wait a minute, Ryan, but if I just copied those, then all these images are still going to be in my export folder. And that is true. And aren't those going to be taking up space on my hard drive? Yes, that is true. So we want to fix that problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to everything that we just worked on, okay? And we're going to right click. So in this case, we're just going to click the parent folder, which is Lightroom exports in OneDrive. We're going to right click on that, and there's going to be a button down here that says free up space, okay? When we do that, that will now remove the files from our local computer, from our actual hard drive. And now, whenever we want to access those, it's simply going to download them back from the cloud. So I click the button that says free up space. Now, when I come into, again, my exported documents, you can see there's this little cloud symbol here that's open. That means that I can get those back from the cloud simply by clicking on them. If I hover over them, you'll see it says available when online. So these are now backed up to the cloud, and they're backed up to your external hard drive, but they are no longer living on the hard drive in your computer. So this is going to remove a massive bottleneck where most people have this stuff just continuing to build up, and eventually they got to buy, they're like, I got to get a new computer because it's out of space. So that's the trick to that, is that free up button, right click on it, hit free up space, and that will go ahead and free up space. Makes it very easy to get them back whenever you want them. It just simply downloads them. So if I go in there and then I click on one of those images, now you'll see there's a little check box, and it made checks on all of them because it's going to bring everything inside of that folder back to life on this computer locally. Okay, so there's the key to that, keeping that from working out. If you're running out of space, come over here, right click, hit free up space, and it'll send it back into a cloud only status. All right, so I know that was kind of long, but hopefully that really helps you create a great workflow so you're never going to lose data again. And now maybe you know where your files are where you couldn't before. So if there's anything we can do to help you in terms of one-on-one coaching, data recovery, custom computer builds, anything like that, please reach out to us. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, so that you're getting this information. We're giving this out free because we want your guys' life to be better. Let us know what you think. Thanks.